After a hard day's interfering in military operations, Hitler liked nothing more than snuggling up in bed with, well, I was going to say Eva Braun, but in fact a good book. And like most of us, he had a favourite genre. The name of his luxurious special train is a big clue: America. Not for Adolf Hitler, the Russian steppe. His interest was further to the west, in a place that looks very similar, the Great Plains of North America, and a particular period of US history, the Wild West. And now, a brief word from our sponsor. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. Play more than 2,000 tanks, aircraft, helicopters and ships in dynamic combined arms PvP battles. As an historian, I appreciate that the vehicles in War Thunder span over 100 years of development, from the 1920s to the present day. Every vehicle is incredibly detailed and modelled, offering a highly immersive combat experience. War Thunder has incredible graphics and detail in 4K resolution to create the immersion you need. Play War Thunder now on PC, PlayStation or Xbox using the link on the screen. You receive a large, free bonus pack for registering using my personalized link, including multiple premium vehicles, premium account, boosters, and much more. Hitler's go-to author was a German, Karl May, who wrote a series of wildly successful adventure novels for youngsters and adults, sparking a fascination in late 19th and early 20th century Germany for Native Americans and the Wild West. May sold some 200 million copies of his books, making him one of Germany's most successful authors by the time he died in 1912. And Hitler was an early enthusiast, crediting May's books with ruining his academic grades at school, as he notes in Mein Kampf. He attended a public lecture given by May in Vienna in 1912, just 10 days before the author's death, and May's death deeply upset Hitler. For the rest of his life, Hitler had copies of May's novels in his various houses and headquarters, and Albert Speer noted that during times of crisis, Hitler would turn to May's novels, full of characters displaying courage and fortitude, as others might turn to the Bible. We know that Hitler never visited the United States, but an extremely interesting rumor has been abroad since 1940 that Hitler nonetheless owned a cattle ranch in Colorado. Did Hitler invest in a US property in the American West? Was he living out some kind of Karl May-inspired fantasy? Or is the story nothing more than a pile of horse apples? Let's find out. The Hitler Ranch story appears to originate in a strange court action filed in 1940 in Colorado by a man named Spears Haverly from Virginia. Haverly owned $23 million in overdue German bonds, and when Haverly learned that a resident of Richhausen, Germany, owned 13,000 acres of land in eastern Colorado, Haverly attempted to obtain ownership of that land as a, quote, partial reparation. The language used in Haverly's legal claim, which may have appeared in the property listings in Cheyenne County, Colorado, may have contained a reference to land owned by citizens of Adolf Hitler's Reich. It seems that around that time, ownership attributed to citizens of Adolf Hitler's Reich morphed in the records to ownership by Adolf Hitler, and a myth was born. For example, press coverage in 1940 certainly made this assumption. The 27th of June 1940 edition of the Oak Creek Times ran a small article on page 4 titled, "Hitler Owns 15 Sections of Land in Colorado." The story being that the land, near Kit Carson, belonged to a man surnamed Bowers, who at his death was inherited by relations back in Germany. The story goes that Hitler had then obtained the Colorado property from this German family by confiscating a mortgage note. The ranch then became Hitler's personal property. This story then evolved into Hitler's inheriting 8,960 acres of Colorado from relatives in Germany. As far as we know, none of Hitler's relatives who lived in Austria owned land in the United States or Canada. However, Colorado locals certainly began to believe that the ranch was once owned by Hitler. But Hitler wasn't, according to local legend, the owner for very long, as in 1942, some months after Hitler's declaration of war on the United States, the federal government reclaimed the land and then sold it on to a New Mexico rancher. In truth, Mr. Haverly's illegal attempt to grab the land, an opportunistic court action, had nothing to do with Hitler, other than the fact that the owner was a German citizen. The case was thrown out of court, and the land was then seized after Germany's declaration of war in December 1941. It was taken over by the US government's Alien Property Custodian, and this office sold the ranch at auction. It has since been broken up and resold as parcels of land. What is absolutely clear from investigations that were carried out, particularly in 1976, is that Adolf Hitler never owned this land, or indeed any land in the United States. The entire story grew from a misunderstanding of Mr. Haverly's court action records, as he attempted to gain for himself some land once owned by citizens of Adolf Hitler's Reich, that is, Germans. This expression morphing in the local land registry into ownership by, quote, Adolf Hitler, unquote. It is nonetheless an interesting little example of how a wrong word or a misconstrued expression or sentence can spawn an erroneous historical fact that is still believed by many people today, 80+ years later. But I think Hitler would have been very happy to have owned thousands of acres of the American West, a place he thought and dreamed about all of his life. You can't help but wonder what might have happened if he had followed all those millions of other German-speaking people to the United States, to the land that Karl May had recreated in adventure novels so successfully, to seek his fortune out west, rather than the path he ultimately took in Europe. Play War Thunder now on PC, PlayStation or Xbox using the link on the screen. Remember, you receive a large, free bonus pack for registering using my personalized link, including multiple premium vehicles, premium account, boosters and much more. War Thunder, get it now! Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also visit my audiobook channel, War Stories with Mark Felton. You can also help support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description box below.